part of it. Test.
Hey, good evening. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Tonight is the board workshop for the Escondido Union High School District Board of Education. Today is May 5th, 2026. We'll call this meeting to order and then we'll establish our quorum. We have board member Durney joining us virtually.
Present.
Okay, board member Weller.
Here.
Board member Vincent.
Here.
Board member Williams.
Here.
And myself, board member Knight. And we will at this time introduce our interpreter. There will be a Spanish interpreter for this meeting. Meeting attendees who would like to listen to the Spanish interpretation of the proceedings may pick up headphones from the table located in the back of the room. And this announcement will now be shared in Spanish. Por favor.
Muy buenas tardes. Si necesita interpretación al español, por favor visítenos en la parte trasera de la sala. Gracias.
Okay, our next meeting announcement. This meeting is being webcast live and recorded. The recording or webcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting this evening. Next will be our Pledge of Allegiance, and this evening we will be led by Board Member Weller. A nation under God, visible with liberty and justice. Next on the agenda is to approve this evening's agenda with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
There are none.
And there are none, so
We'll move to approve.
we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Thank you. We will have roll call vote on this item. Board member Durney, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board member Weller?
Aye.
Board member Vincent?
Aye.
Board member Williams?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Board member Knight, aye. That brings us to item 6 on the agenda, which is our district goals and local control accountability plan updates. And for this, I will turn it over to Dr. Casas. Thank you. Or Superintendent Peterson, Dr. Casas.
Thank you, President Knight. And we'll just jump right in.
think that's the one to your car.
Right? I heard a buzz. You were there?
There you go.
Please hold. Yeah, I'm gonna try it one more time. Back. Forward. There you go. I think we're good. All right. Apologize for that. Okay, so this evening we will be going over a brief overview of what LCAP is. We'll go over our projected LCAP budget for 26-27, the upcoming school year. We'll review a stakeholder engagement process, which we engage with stakeholders in 5 different distinct ways. And then we will actually get an opportunity to review the feedback from our student forums you'll see there. And then you'll see in the back the priorities delineated by our educational partners. And then you'll also see a brief review of our LCAP metrics presentation, which, as a reminder, we presented to the board in January of 2026. And then we'll reconvene and we'll go over the summary of the priorities of the educational partners, which just synthesize the survey results, student forums, site level forums, ELAC meeting, and their own feedback as well. And I'll provide a brief overview of what's next from now until the public hearing, and then finally when the board takes action. Okay. Next, we'll have a short video that outlines the LCAP process. Okay, if you recognize the voice, that is Dr. Adriana Lepe Ramirez, who is with us here today. That's always a nice video that we show at the beginning of the year of our first LCAP meeting with our parents, and it gives a nice broad overview of what LCAP is and why we're asking for their feedback and their engagement. Next slide. Okay, so as the video mentioned, our LCAP plan has to provide goals, actions, and services directly addressing the needs of our unduplicated students, which are English learners, low-income students, and foster youth. You'll see our demographic breakdown here on the bottom left. 23% of our English learners are 23% of our students are English learners. Close to 82% are low income, and a combined 2.8 are foster youth and are homeless. So whatever goals, actions, and services we delineate in our LCAP plan, we have to demonstrate how they're serving the needs of that particular student group. However, since we have a high proportion of unduplicated students, that doesn't mean that those actions and services that we do provide can't be also given to the other students that are not in the unduplicated pool, so they can benefit from those as well. Okay.
Ask a quick question.
Of course.
The student ethnicity, has that dropped percentage?
Which one?
I'm looking at, it seems like they've dropped from years. Is that
I mean, we would have to look at which particular group you mean has dropped, but I'll give you an example. English learner has increased from a little bit below 20, like at 19%, to post-pandemic at 23. Special ed has gone up a little bit as well. And obviously, unduplicated overall has gone from like 78, 79 pre-pandemic to up to 82 now. So,
okay. Good.
I'll get more. Are you reclassified fluent English proficient? And
What does that
I
what does
mean,
that mean then?
they were English language learners, and now they've successfully performed on the LPAC to be reclassified as English language proficient. Okay. Here you'll see a breakdown of our budget. In the bigger pie, which is the multicolor one, is our overall budget. And you will notice there that we get funds from the federal government, which are title funds and grants, local funds,
Dr. Casas,
state funds.
Madam President, the viewers at home cannot see the slides on the live stream. Is there anything we can do about that? You know, on Zoom calls, it's always the big deal. Sharing slides, it's such a hassle.
We can see what we can do about that while we proceed and
Yeah. Okay. So on this left-hand side, in the multicolored pie, you'll see a breakdown of all the different type of funding we receive: federal funds, which is title and grants; local funds; state funds. And then you'll see total LCFF, which we heard in the video. That LCFF, that 100 million, is broken down in the smaller pie by LCSF base and LCFF supplemental and concentration funds. So you'll see there 75 million and some change plus 25 million some change equals the 100 million there you see on the multicolored pie. For the intensive purposes of LCAP, we're building a budget on that 25,261,000 that is our supplemental plus our concentration funds. So that piece of the pie, that's what we're building a budget on, just that piece of the pie. Okay, and we can also use salaries and benefits in supplemental and concentration, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And so the LCFF base is just based on the total number of students that are enrolled. And then the supplemental and concentration, we get that allocated based on the percentage of the students that are unduplicated, right? And I think this is important because you'll see in the next slide a comparison of what we're projected to receive for the 26-27 school year. Well, we're projected, yeah, based on a decline in enrollment. It also means we'll probably have less unduplicated students as well. Even though the proportion or the percentage might be higher, we might have less unduplicated students. So you'll see in supplemental funds, we're projected to receive 245,000 less. In concentration funds, we're projected to receive 376,000 less. When you combine that, we're projected to receive 621,000 less in supplemental and concentration funds together. Now, when you compare that in the context of 25 million, that is a decrease of 2.4%. Certainly manageable. I mean, we'd rather obviously not lose money or not lose any funding, but we can certainly manage a 2.4% reduction in budget. So what that means for us when we're building it is when we establish our priorities, what can we maintain, what can we reduce, or what can we shift to regular, to another budget. So just because it can't be budgeted in the LCAP, it doesn't mean it can't fall into another budget like the LCFF base, for example, or in a federal fund or a local fund. Does that make sense? Okay. So we'll get into our stakeholder engagement process here. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we engage our stakeholders in really 5 different ways. We sent out a survey, we did student forums, we did site level LCAP forums, we did a DLAC LCAP forum, and we did 4 educational partner committee meetings, which is what you see projected there. We met in the educational partner meeting. Those are representatives from each site, which includes parents, students, faculty, staff members, and administrators from every single site. When we first saw them in November, we showed them the video that you just saw, and we explained an overview of the entire year process of them participating in the LCAP process. And also they give us feedback on the survey that we send out. When we saw them again in February 2026, that gap is intentional because somewhere around December and January, the state finalizes our previous year achievement results on the dashboard. And in January, we present to the board the actual results from the previous year. We share that same presentation with our educational partners because this is heavily regulated and heavily audited on an annual basis. And whatever we find in actions and services, we have to prove that it's working or it's not working. And if it's not working, how are we adjusting and how are we iterating if it's not? And we have to make data-informed decisions with our educational partners, right? Okay. So that's why that takes place in February. In March, we have the survey results now that we gave out. We have our achievement data. We have feedback from our ELAC and DLAC committee and from our site level forums. And then we triangulate all those results together to make recommendations on actions and services. So that's when they do the famous DOT activity, which you have the posters in the back there to look at. And then finally, this last meeting, we make recommendations, and they were well aware that we're projected to receive 600 grand less. So they know that this new version of the LCAP contains no new actions and services. So their priorities really reflect what can we do more of that we already provide. An example of that is tutoring, right? They're loud and clear. Parents and students, they want more tutoring. So as an example, if we offered 5,000 hours of tutoring, we're going to increment that to 8 or to 10,000, right? We also have site level discretion LCAP funds that we give to the site levels, to the site level principals that have to be used to unduplicated students. That might be some funds that we reduce, right? So if we want to increase tutoring, then we might give less site level funds or discretionary funds to the principals. So if one site gets 80K this year, next year they'll get 60. Doesn't mean it goes away, it's just reduced. But what I want to outline very clearly is that there are no new actions and services for 26-27. We are using the priorities to increase actions and services that we already provide. And then the other ones that aren't deemed priorities, we're looking to maintain, reduce, or shift funding. So just because it wasn't labeled a priority doesn't mean it goes away. It just might mean we shift the funding source, right? Okay. Overview of the student forums. Our wonderful student board members facilitated each meeting. You have the dates there for your reference. And they asked the questions that you see around the school board room today. And these were the themes that they shared with us. These themes are pretty consistent throughout the years, with the exception of the bottom right green one, which says recognition and motivation. That's not one we've heard before. So that's an interesting one. Students shared that they want to be celebrated more for their effort, for their growth, and their accomplishments on a formal level, which is good. So that's a new one we haven't heard before. The other ones we have. So their feedback is they like engaging teachers in instruction, make learning engaging, explain concepts clearly. And the brown one there at the bottom left, you see expanded course opportunities, which we hear every year. They want more AP classes, more dual enrollment, more world languages, and more CTE pathways, which we're working on. And then real world learning, they value hands-on learning, real world experiences, careers, and practical skills. We see the brown and the blue box there really interconnected. And then you'll see there in gray a consistent theme throughout the years. It's just generally more access to their counselors and to counseling services all the time. Career, college advice, all of the above, scholarship opportunities, internships, and guidance about post-secondary options. So we hear that pretty consistently as well.
That's very interesting because some of the student board members that we spoke to, potential board members, brought up the same thing about counseling.
Yeah.
And it seems to be something that we should work on.
Yeah, it's definitely a consistent theme. I will say visiting the sites pretty consistently. It's kind of where do we find that balance of accessibility, but also maintaining a level of order in the counseling department. I'll tell you that when you visit, and there's variance in this, but when you visit a counseling center at lunch, there's generally a decent line of students wanting to see counselors. And generally they get seen. What is the feedback that's loud and clear is that parents and students want access to the counselors like almost on demand, like when they need, like I need to see a counselor now, I would like to. And we need to find systems that we can address that in a timely manner, but also help people understand like we have limited resources too, and we'll try to get to you as soon as possible. So it's kind of like, how do we marry that? But it's certainly loud and clear every year. It's consistent. Like we need more access to our counselors and to counseling services. That is universally true, and it's been universally true probably for 6 or 7 years. We have integrated more systems with like some of our counseling centers have iPads to check in, a pretty nice system of order of like when you will be seen. They get an email like, hey, you're queued up to see this certain period, but then a kid doesn't want to miss that period because they have a lab, which is understandable, right? And then teachers, sometimes they're like, why are you pulling them now? We're doing something important. So it's kind of finding like that right balance of when is the appropriate time? When is that lag of you wanted to see a counselor, when can we see you in a timely manner? When is it appropriate to pull you out of a learning environment? before school, after school, during lunch. So it's a little nuanced, but the feedback is certainly consistent and clear.
Can we use like software like Calendarly
Yeah.
or something like that where they all, the system automatically closes spaces?
Yeah.
Then that way they can go out 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And say, I want it at this time. And if the space is open, that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
thinking that would be easy.
Yeah, we do. We use a system similar to that, and then some of the sites use different ones. Like you'll see in our wellness centers, they have something similar. And I have to see. It'd be nice if we were all consistent. So I'll get back to you and see like what each site uses. But it's also difficult because depending on the need, you think an appointment might be half an hour. It could turn into 2.5 hours if it's a safety thing or so. But yes, we could do better.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Sure.
The other thought is a closed AI system,
Mm.
them to ask questions on.
Yeah.
Great. Are we having audience remarks currently? Hi, Mike. Nice to see you, buddy. But like I said, a closed one where certain questions, kind of like FAQs.
Yeah.
Like,
It lends to some feedback we received from one of the potential student board members for next year who said they went to their school counselor to ask a question, something that they had already Googled on their own and thought, I need to get actual advice from my counselor. And right before her eyes, the counselor turned around and Googled it and shared with her the very first thing that came up in Google. So it's happening.
Yeah.
Whether or not the counselors are, it's happening. They're just Googling it themselves. So that's just an example we heard tonight. So it's very relevant,
which would be an open AI system.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So
those are the themes that are student forums. And in the student forums, if you recall, those are focus groups of about 30 to 40 students from each site that are pulled, and they're asked questions in a facilitated manner by our student board members. Okay, so that's just one of the 5 data sets. We've already shared 2. And then we had our survey, which we had 4,354 participants. You'll see the breakdown there by site and by survey participant type, if you will. Obviously, the most represented there are students. And then we have parent participation, certificated and classified, and admin breakdown there. Yes, and I can send that directly. Yes.
I have some feedback on this survey is not user-friendly from a mobile device. I found it to be very difficult to scroll up to see all the options. It would close out every time I would scroll up. So to the extent possible, we could look at maybe a different platform or how do we make it a little more mobile friendly? Because my guess is most parents are going to be responding on, or even both students may be responding on a mobile device.
We definitely look at that. Yeah. Okay. And stakeholder feedback here in the gallery walk. So this is the portion of the night where we take about 15 minutes and I'll orient you to what you're going to see. So you have a breakdown of the 5 questions that our student board members asked in the student forums. So those are organized in order, starting with question 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 here at the end. This last one, you have a question that they asked to the focus groups at each site. I wish my school board member, administrator, and teachers knew. So you'll have those in Post-it notes there that you can read by school site. So that's organized questions 1 through 5, and then that's the last question they get there as an exit ticket. And in the middle, you'll see a breakdown of our actions and services that our educational partners labeled as priorities. So the ones that got the most dots, those are the ones that are designated as priorities to our educational partners. In the middle of that poster, you'll see the top 3 responses by goal. What that means is those are the 3 areas of priority that our 4,500 survey participants deemed as priorities with each given goal. So you'll see that in the middle of those posters. And then to the right of that, you'll see an overview of our LCAT metric presentation, which we gave to the board in January 2026. That's just there for context. Generally speaking, a reminder, we have 4 consistent years of increase in literacy, 4 consistent years of increase in math, historic high in A through G completion, historic high in AP pass rate, an increase in our science achievement as well. I say that because part of our responsibility when we write the LCAP is are actions and services having the appropriate impact, yes or no? If they are, we should continue or increase. If they're not, we should look at something different. So I just wanted to give that context. And we'll do like a check-in maybe at 6:45, at 6:30.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hey, this looks really good. I mean, a lot better. Yeah, I mean, whoever put that together, my hat goes off to.
I get it.
Al, Al.
Exactly.
How is it?
Water polo and swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Orange Glen still has a skate club?
Oh, yeah.
Popular.
I didn't think it was.
Carson Park has a skate park.
Not
Right
anymore,
across.
they closed it.
When?
Recently. Closed the
When?
Kit Carson one,
Ah,
because they think that Washington.
that for
Trying to
sure.
do,
Already closed?
or it's on this plate to be closed. I
I'm
saw an
starting to see a lot of
announcement, like,
water.
that
in
closed.
here. Water polo.
Yeah, sometimes they have overburden. They try to get it as a
Versa.
I've always been.
I'm in Eagle Crest right now.
Building.
Yeah, yeah. I live on the other side of the mountain in a sense, so I wanted to, start climbing up a mountain. I could go over the mountain and see you guys.
To Orange Grove.
Yeah, oh, I've got a neighbor who lives on one of those roads, actually. All friends. Anybody talk about a broken toilet this time?
No, actually, not this time. I mean, they wanted to, we had to. Correct them. Or what it has to find. Yes. Food and facilities, yeah, 100%. Food and facilities.
I guess. Oh, it's interesting. I finally, after 3 years, I understand what I'm looking at. I always noticed. One of the, and one was, I wish we had a robotics club and a study engineering. Wondering if there, we could put a site up or something where kids can. Just
Yeah.
kind of line items. And then they're like, oh, there is a robotic. I have to get over to like Stampa Squad.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
Hello.
yeah. Because I mean, daughter actually. Like that's it. So maybe just something.
Yeah, it could be something like this, like this is
Super.
robotics and it's,
Yeah.
it exists at here
Yeah.
and here that's it.
Yeah,
And it's something
yeah, or
else.
maybe 500.
CTE. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially as part of the community.
yeah,
100%.
yeah, and they could just go on and go, okay, look, the school has what I
And
want.
it could be like a one-page flyout.
Because right now it looks like everything's. Wanting to know Sandy.
Did you use the word flocking on purpose?
Is that a bird reference? Is there eagles?
That was super foul.
No.
Sorry. You started. You started it. I did not, but that's fine.
No, you're right. Presentation. From that even. Oh. Even if it is. I mean,
Yeah, it's on.
yeah.
My two kids.
But the
And every school has.
is that we
different-
are. I'll use a quote reference. Is like all schools. I'm super excited. Really good. For people. Thank you. Gotta work with middle school better. I really
I had.
Possible. That picture.
Documentary.
Document.
Us.
Board. That.
Okay, welcome back. Thank you for that.
Okay. We okay to continue, President? Yep. Okay, thank you for engaging in that. Next, I'm going to provide a summary of what you just observed. And before we go into this, I want to orient you a little bit. So the box that is in sort of a light blue there are the areas that are educational partners because of the survey results, student forums, DLAC forums, site level forums, and their own perspective as representatives in the educational partner committees selected as priorities. So in the blue box, you can think of those as in our actions and services that we want to increase or maintain. On the left-hand side are actions and services that we want to maintain, perhaps reduce or shift funding. And I say that with a reminder that we only have to reduce our LCAP budget by 2.4%. So that's very, very minimal. But I just wanted to orient you because that's sort of like the feedback that we were given through our educational partners. Definitely these are priorities or the ones that got the most stickers. So in those, increase, maintain. And then the other side, keep as much as you can. If you have to reduce it minimally or shift funding. Nobody said get rid of anything. They all think our actions and services are working, and our data certainly suggests that they are.
Quick question
Yes.
before we get started. I understand that the LCAP is a 3-year program,
Yes.
right? And what year are we in?
2.
We're year number 2.
Yes.
So when after
In 26, 27, we'll be in year 2.
Okay. So within that, how often have the goals been in the sense the same? Or do we typically keep them the same no matter what year we are in?
Yes, because we have to provide documentation why we changed them. We can change the actions and services. The goals themselves should relatively maintain the same. What we can change is sort of the window or range that we wish to increase them. But generally, they have to stay the same.
Yeah, but
It's a 3-year process.
But typically, I mean, the goals themselves are pretty, I want to say just obvious in a
Yep.
sense, right? And I believe we've probably kept the high level goals themselves the same for probably many years.
Yep. Correct.
Thanks.
Mhm. So in goal number 1 here, the areas of priorities that were identified were expand CTE pathways and real learning opportunities, increase hands-on learning, promote deeper thinking and application and learning, set high expectations, and we said this in the beginning, increase academic support, tutoring, instructional aids, remediation, and ensure access to grade level content for all students. And that is in goal 1. Again, a reminder, no new actions and services. Yes.
So the term promote deeper thinking, which, I've had questions about, that sounds like that was, interpreted, meaning, can you define deeper thinking again for me? Because I'm thinking that like students have this idea, but that is translated into deeper thinking for this.
The way we've defined it with students is deeper learning is, can we make whatever they're learning meaningful and authentic, and can we get them to share their learning publicly? And that's might seem simple, but it's actually highly nuanced and complex. And so if they're learning the Pythagorean theorem, for example, right? Well, if we were going to make that meaningful and authentic, we might have to create a project at home where you actually have to create a 3-dimensional model of the Pythagorean theorem and how it would apply if you're creating, if you're indicating a ramp, for example, right? And they actually have to make the ramp. And not only do they have to make the ramp, but in a committee of their peers and their parents and friends, they would have to demonstrate how the ramp works, publicly, not just in front of their class, but publicly. And so the reason why we do that is we find that students arise to the occasion when they have to share their learning publicly, like they do in VAPA, for example, like rehearsal, and then it's time for the play, and then it's wow, there's performing, right? So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's also part of the when you are in the classroom, you're also looking for, what is it, depth of knowledge or
DOK? That one's a little different than that one, but yes, that's a DOK4 would be an example that in the example we were providing, that would be the highest level of DOK. Yeah. All right. And goal 2, the priorities are support collaboration and instruction, support teacher and staff collaboration and plan instruction, provide PLC time for data analysis and instructional planning, recruit and retain high quality staff, Develop instructional leadership capacity, develop leaders to support teacher growth and instructional improvement. Again, these are all things that we have been doing. The feedback is maintain or increase these services, right? Oh boy, we just went over that. Single bodies, yeah, I'd have to get back to you on the exact number, but there are multiple periods. Out of the LCAP, we fund about 0.6 per site, so that would be 3 periods per site, so 9 periods plus Valley, let's call it 12 to 14 sections of teachers on special assignment funded through the LCAP. There are other TOSAs funded through title, but for the purposes of LCAP, it's about 12 to 14 district-wide. Okay. And goal number 3 here, we have the priorities are counseling and guidance, as we went over with our student forums. Tutoring, again, showing up here, interventions and credit recovery. Access to social workers and wellness services, and then expand opportunities in middle college, dual enrollment, AP, CTE, and post-secondary pathways. That was really important to not just students, but the parents as well. So. Goal number 4, you have communication, strong school-family communication, access to translators, interpreters, and parent liaisons, and student wellness, ongoing wellness checks and support. So those were the priorities for goal number 4. And in goal number 5, priorities identified were positive school climate, clean, safe, well-maintained schools, an alternative to suspensions such as our PAD program, our SOS, and new this year, our RESET program, school district-wide, which has been really successful as well. Yes, we just went over that. So in the past 3 years, I believe our ADA is up maybe 2%. Which translate also money back to the district as well. And we're actually going to be highlighted in CSBA. We just found out, so that'll be really cool, which is in San Diego this year.
Good job.
Yes, so we've done a wonderful job. Our MTSS team, along with Dr. Ramirez's team and our site level attendance TOSAs as well, have done a wonderful job in increasing attendance. So,
Can you summarize briefly the RESET program?
RESET is an alternative to suspension for what we would call for first offense non-suspendable actions at the site level. So an example of that would be a student that is using profanity, to give you an example, and we've warned the student, we've called home, they've met with the counselor, and it's still pervasive. The student's still doing it, right? So now you're like on intervention number 5, and you're like, hey, Martine, this is the 5th time you've said blank word. Now you're going to go to RESET. And so RESET is a 2-day program at the school site where there's learning attached to whatever word they're using. And at the end of the 2nd day, they actually have to like provide some sort of presentation to the victim or victims that they've harmed in some way. The benefit is for 2 days, they're not engaged in using profanity, hopefully, in front of the entire student body or engaging in that behavior in front of the student body, and there's learning attached. If the student goes through that 2-day program, comes back and says it again, then they're suspended for sure. And then there's progressive discipline as it applies, but that's been really successful. Yeah.
I was going to ask how many students are involved in that.
I can get you the exact numbers, but yeah, it's been high in some sites, but what's really encouraging is the repeat offenders is really low.
Okay, good.
So,
that's important. That shows that it's working.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then we'll get to what is next. So I'll draw your attention to the timeline here, and we'll skip down to number 4. So from now until May 14th, we'll continue to revise the 200-page plus draft before we submit it to the county. Once we submit it to the county electronically for feedback, we'll post it on our district website, step number 2, May 15th. It has to be there for 30 days to get public input and public feedback. Between May 14th and June 10th, the county will review it there in step number 5. And then June 10th, we meet with the county and get their feedback page by page,
Page by page.
comma by comma. Oh, cent by cent even, right, Ms. Phillips? Yes, it's highly scrutinized for sure.
Or if they're running it through AI.
Perhaps, yeah.
The Office of Ed do you guys meet with? Like, not necessarily names, but like, who are these people that are reviewing this?
I actually don't know their titles, but I know names. So Deborah Hernandez is, I believe she's the County Office of Education Assessment and Accountability Executive Director. And then there's Jewel Anderson, who's federal programs and something, Dr. Ramirez, right? Yeah. So those
Like,
are,
this is their job.
this
to
is-
look at everyone's LCAP and meet with them and all of that.
they outsource each chapter to specialists. So finance as a whole person from a county at the County Office of Ed that looks at it. So it's highly scrutinized. Yep.
Thank you.
And then from there, we'll make the revisions and we'll have that ready for the public hearing, which is June 16th. And then the board takes action June 23rd.
So, as I said quietly before, after 3 years, I finally understand what we're doing. And so one of the things that I've had concerns of, and this is kind of interesting. So the view of low expectations, I know that we've really raised our level of expectation at the districts here. And one of the things that that translates into is the fact that typically in the LCAP, it's like 2 to 3% growth in these areas written down. And I'm like, well, why don't we set down 8 to 10% growth? So if we were to set in 8 to 10% growth, does the SDCOE knock them down?
No, they would ask for rationale. And I would say I think there's pros and cons to doing that. A pro obviously everyone usually rises to the level of expectations. And I find that to be true. If for whatever we were short, the guidance from the state is, well, if you're not meeting your goals, that means your actions and services, something's going on.
Mhm.
And so you need to change whatever you're doing or tweak it or create a different iteration. So right now we have, a 4-year trajectory of growth. If for whatever reason we increase something to like 10 or 15% and that wasn't met, the state might say, well, these things that were working, they're not meeting that level of growth.
Would there be an argument to be made with the state? Look, we increased 8%.
Yeah.
We were shooting for 12.
Yeah.
We're 8. Everybody else is at 2.
Yeah.
Can you leave us alone? No, I'm really serious. Like, what would happen if we were like, no, we're going to argue this with you?
Yeah. Uncharted waters. I don't know.
Why, Mayor Martin?
It's like somebody would be getting a lot of awards,
Yeah.
right?
All right, something to argue about in the coming weeks.
Any other questions, comments?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the work put in this. I'm sorry, Carol, did you have some comments?
No, that's exactly what I was going to start saying. Just jump in there, say thank you. I know that Martin and your team put a whole lot of effort into this, and thank you.
Appreciate it. Carol, did you get the pictures of the posters? I know that we were working to send you those.
I haven't seen them yet, but I will take a look when they come in.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, and thank you for all the work in this and the continued work as it moves forward. Sounds like they might have emailed them to you. Okay, so that will conclude item 6 on our agenda for now and bring us to item 7, which is our budget update. So at this time, if you're okay with it, we'll turn it over to Ms. Phillips.
You. Yes, let's see. Going. So tonight, as you mentioned, we're going to share a budget update. It's mainly going to focus on the small amount of changes that we've had since second interim, which was just presented in March. And we'll go in as just a quick review. We are nearing the end of the fiscal year. And so none of our assumptions have changed except one tiny little one. As Martine mentioned, our attendance has gone up and we have certified our P2 attendance, which is what we're funded on. And we were certified at 92.7%, which is higher than what we budgeted at. So that is a good thing. While it doesn't help our current year, it will help our future years. It increased the future years by about 30 ADA each of them. So that is about a $500,000 increase.
Not too shabby.
Real quick, P2 means,
It's the second apportionment. Essentially, it's the second period. So P2 second period. The first one is the like December-ish, and then this is the second.
Can I ask you a question?
It's your 26, 27, it's 5,782, and at second in term, it was about 30 less than that. And then 27
whoa,
ADA.
funded
Funded
ADA.
ADA.
5983.
Correct. It would have been about 5750. Yes. And the orange, it would have been about 551.
Wait,
Yeah, they both went up about 30 because it's a 3-year prior average. So it just bumped up the average.
And then when, look at that.
500,000.
Okay.
For next year, and if we were to maintain that level going forward,
Okay.
obviously depending on enrollment, it could mean 600 going forward. It could mean 1.2 for 27, 28, and it could even mean 1.8 million in 29, 30. So as that larger percentage becomes more of the 3-year average, the revenue will grow. It will take over the smaller percentages in the prior years. So the hope is to maintain that larger average.
I'm so sorry for,
fine.
so underfunded ADA,
Yes,
25, 26, we're at 5983, correct?
correct.
And then in 26, 27, I see it going down to 5782.
Yeah,
I don't see it going up.
Yeah, that's it, because it's a flat number. So what we're saying right now, I'm giving it to you in a percentage of our enrollment. Because it's a little easier for our sites to move towards a percentage as a goal. It's a more positive reinforcement. If we give them this number, they're going to continue to look a little defeated.
I understand your question.
Yes.
Go for it.
Previously, 26, 27 estimate, remember this is future, so these are estimates.
Yes, sir.
The last time we presented this, it was about 30 less,
Yes.
26, 27 than it.
Got it.
Because of this year's increased attendance rate, we can now project that into the future because it goes into the rolling average.
Thank you.
So we're projecting this 30 higher.
Thank you.
Now, which is perhaps the neighborhood of $500 higher revenue than the last time we gave you a projection.
So my question is, I'm looking at the cost of living. 2025, 2023, then in 2026 to 2027, we got 2.1. 2027 and 2028 at 3.0.
Estimates.
The future ones are projections. Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, how are these established? What are they based?
So it's a calculation that the state basically uses on its federal, it's by each quarter. So that's why we just have the statutory calculation for 26, 27, because we just got the last quarter. So it's actually 2.87 is the statutory COLA for 26, 27. Now we just have to see if the governor will fund it. This is the number.
This is what they come up with.
The state has
Yeah.
9 different data points that
Right.
it uses to determine. I like to, if you want to just really simplify this, a price index for some district government agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have their economists have their own. How to determine that?
But it's over
So how
time. But it's
accurate are
over
they?
time.
How accurate are these?
For the out years,
Yeah.
they're absolutely wrong until the quarters are done. They
These
are.
These are the latest estimates from the state.
Yeah.
But you don't know what they are until you get there.
Okay, so if I went back to 2024 to 2025, you had a projection, because we make a lot of decisions.
Mhm.
So how accurate are those?
The out years, they're wrong. There's no way they have the right COLA in advance.
1 year, they told us we were gonna get negative 10%, and then, but.
Zero, which was
Pro,
better
which
than
was like a
negative.
Huge 10% swing.
California.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So yeah,
I'm
we,
sorry I asked that
good,
question,
you're fine.
because it just, to
Mhm.
me, it just seems to be.
yeah, no, it's,
'Cause we make a lot of decisions off of that.
so yeah, and we need to see if it gets funded. So it's a statutory number, but the governor still has to determine whether he can actually
So-
fund.
Prop 98 is the bare minimum. In California, state of California, it's a D. Funding education, as you know, per capita. No, they get a failure for per capita. For the GDP, they get a failure, but just overall funding. Yeah. So they don't fund our educational system the way they should. That's a shame. So anyhow,
I'm
that's,
gonna argue with you.
okay, yeah, so.
So yeah, so Martine already congratulated everybody, but I agree. So lots of improvement. Our site attendance staff, our attendance TOSAs, our ed services team, everybody at the DSC. So everybody's focus on attendance has definitely, we've seen improvement and it has been well worth it. So here now you'll see 25-26 unrestricted general fund. You'll see second interim, navy blue, and then the numbers I'm bringing to you here in the May workshop in that kind of greenish teal. And so these are all just based on the assumptions that I just shared with you. And we can compare, and then orange is the difference. So we can see that we have about a difference in revenue of about almost $700,000. And then our expenses did also go up about almost $3.5 million. And then a small difference in the contributions of about 430. The only changes we made since second interim are essentially we've incorporated the tentative agreement with ESTA. We had EV grants that you might remember from that March board meeting to get some chargers. So we had grants that funded those. We've incorporated those as well. And then a very small change in revenue as well for facilities and some deposits at the school sites. But that really is all we've had to change since then. So that leaves us with a change in the fund balance of a decrease of about $3.1 million on the unrestricted side. On the restricted side, very similar story. A decrease on the revenue side, mostly in special ed from our SELPA. And then an increase on the expenses, again, mostly related in salaries. And then the positive side of the contributions that you just saw the negative side on the unrestricted side. And then the smaller ending fund balance decrease on the restricted side of the.
So I know we've been trained in this before, so please forgive me for this question, but
Fine.
if you were to say, hey, 80% of the restricted is it basically salaries? Because the point being is that it's interesting that restricted, we're only down 300,000, but unrestricted, we're down 3 million. And I'm just curious, why restricted is down so little when unrestricted is down significantly, I guess would be the. And by the way, your formats are awesome. It's so easy to follow this time that I can actually ask questions. So thank you so much. But I need to understand what it is in unrestricted that's really causing such a huge drop. I see the expenses went up significantly, but.
On the restricted side, yeah, I mean, there's definitely significantly more salaries on the unrestricted side.
Wait, I'm sorry, which side has
You're
more?
asking about the restricted side.
Well, I was kind of just wanting to know why the unrestricted is so much bigger than the restricted.
Why is the drop on the restricted side only 350?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Because there's less
1 million.
I mean, if you were to look at the whole pie, yes, there's less salaries on the restricted side than there are on the unrestricted
It's a
side.
smaller pie versus bigger pie.
Yes,
That's,
that too.
Sorry, I'm laughing at myself, not at the answer. So the unrestricted, which is in fact what we have control over the most, correct?
There's less strings attached, yes.
But so thus, what we have control of took a bigger hit than the restricted side. Is that correct, board?
Yes.
Okay, so was there one, is that because of raises?
Yeah, the
Yes,
salary.
absolutely.
I mean, we
Got
came
it.
to best of
Just want to make sure that,
one-time
Yeah.
payments, the retro payment.
Got it.
Ongoing pay raise.
thank you.
And since we talked a lot about LCAP, we're gonna do a little LCAP chat just so we can circle back since we are talking about budget. Just a tiny little bit of LCFF LCAP history. So in 13-14, that's when it all started. And essentially we started getting supplemental concentration funding for our unduplicated students. Governor Brown launched that and he knew he couldn't fully fund the transition, so we created gap funding. And that was the plan initially was to give that for 8 years to close the gap. And we started getting percentages. And so there was extra funding attached to that to kind of close the gap or implementation. It actually only took 6 years to close the gap and to fully fund LCFF. And we were fully 100% funded in 18-19. And then basically from that point on, what drove your LCAP funding was your unduplicated pupils. And you might remember from the workshop, after that, we hit the pandemic and we had this huge surge in our unduplicated pupils. So that is kind of what took us from 2019 to 2024. Before that, during the implementation phase, we hovered around 70% unduplicated. And then we hit the pandemic and we basically surged up to 81%. In that same time period, the governor changed the formula in 21-22, changed that concentration funding from 50% of the base to 65. So we had a whole bunch more unduplicated pupils, and then we got more funding for those same unduplicated pupils. And then after the pandemic, we've started to stabilize our unduplicated pupil count. We've kind of stayed in that 81, 82%. And so now what's really driving that LCAP funding is our declining enrollment. And so that is kind of why for the first time in 24-25, we started taking a dip in our LCAP funding. It peaked around 23-24 at 27.1 million. And then each year after that, we've slowly declined slightly. But all of that really just to give you some background around this visual. So you can kind of see where LCAP came from and started way back in 13-14 at 13.2 million and now has grown all the way to 25.9 now, budgeted to be about 25.2, 25.3 next year. But again, peaked at 27.1. It's the supplemental and concentration funds, yes. They're not restricted. The LCAP funds are on the unrestricted side. Yeah, they are considered unrestricted because we have control over them.
Middle program.
Different grants.
I was going to ask that. So when you roll this out,
Mhm.
do you include grants or time funding?
In our whole budget, yeah, absolutely, we do. They're just
Roughly what percent?
depending on what they are, depends on what side of the budget they are, unrestricted or restricted, and really the government or the state determines that by the object code that they give them. So if they're restricted, they have a certain code, and we put them over there on that side of the budget. And if they're
So
unrestricted,
usually what percentage would that be? Roughly or dollars?
I mean, we have right now $26 million of unrestricted or of restricted revenue out of 135. If I could whip out my little calculator, I could do that for you. 26 out of.
I got my slide rule here if you need.
It's about 20%, 19%. So it's a, as Ryan said, it's a very small piece of the pie.
Nobody heard. Was
Your
either
slide
that
rule.
or the abacus?
Didn't know what it was, so.
The other information on this slide I really wanted to point out, in addition to where LCAP funding is going, is just the number of staff that LCAP does fund. I know that there's a lot of people that LCAP supports that support our students. And maybe we don't always know all the different positions, but there's 122 full-time equivalent positions in LCAP. And then on the right of the slide, you can actually see all the different titles of the positions and then the number of those.
I have a couple questions about that. So our independent study teachers are fully funded through LCAP.
Mhm.
So all independent study is fully funded
Absolutely.
through LCAP. And all middle college is funded through LCAP.
Yep.
Question on the chart here. So, so I appreciate the history lessons. So it was started in 13-14. There was a gap year, for the next, you said 9 years?
Six
6
years. So 18-19 when it was fully implemented.
Fully implemented then. But the skyrocket happened because of COVID?
Our unduplicated count.
Or our unduplicated went up?
That's just with the timing it happened. I mean, it could be high socioeconomic disadvantaged students. That's just when our count of unduplicated students increased.
And is that
during
because the
period of time.
demographics of Escondido changed, or because how we measured that metric?
We didn't really
changed?
change how we did our alternate income form, but our counts increased dramatically during that period of time.
And is that because of the demographics of Escondido and the
Income
attendees?
The income levels changed and
Wow, that's a yeah,
Maybe.
it's interesting.
You say that again.
What we started noticing after the pandemic as well was there more families in one household as compared to before the pandemic.
That's a shame.
One question, CalSafe. What is CalSafe staff?
that's all the staff that's funded in the CalSafe program. So they have some grants.
But what is CalSafe?
That's the teen parent program.
Okay, got it. We have 10 staff members in the teen parent program. How many teen parents do we have? Plus or minus.
It varies depending of the time of the year, but there is one full-time certificated teacher and the rest are childcare attendants. And not all of those positions are full-time as well.
Got it.
So
Okay.
we need someone to watch.
Okay. In my mind, I
babies.
have
Yeah.
10 full-time people. Okay. Let me turn off.
Can you also elaborate a little bit more on the sheltered, clustered, and collab teachers?
Or to Dr. Cassis?
You.
Sorry, Dr. Cassis.
Sheltered classes are for students that are still considered English learners but need access to the core curriculum. So there is a lower class size for sheltered classes, and we also provide a bilingual instructional assistant in said classes.
Okay.
It's also collectively bargained to be smaller because the kids need more attention and support. And what was the other?
Cluster.
That was cluster.
They're all together, sheltered, cluster, and collab teacher.
They're clustered together.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, and it's not for discussion tonight, but it'd be interesting to know, like, is there, because, you hear a lot, oh, English immersion, English only, you hear that. And I haven't done studies on it, but like, does that like that where it works end in like 3rd or 4th grade? Like by the time you're 16, 17, full English immersion, is it just too difficult?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of assumptions there in the statement as well, because we get a lot of English learners that literally just show up to our country at 14 or 15. So they haven't been in the public education system in California at all. And so they're literally considered newcomers, and we have to provide supports for them legally. that's one example of how we provide supports. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't really understand cluster and collab. Is it all the same?
Yeah.
They're listed, it's the second to last on that.
Yeah. So we just this.
Pull up math, like.
No, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, folks.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'm trying to read there. No, I got it. I got it. This is what we do every day here in Ed Services for parents too. Okay, so that was the cluster program. The sheltered program is we have ELD 1, 2, and 3, where they're self-contained and they're not in mainstream classes like they are in the cluster class. And that is for English acquisition only, English language development classes. In the collab environments, it's not to be confused with special. That's why it threw me off, because really that's a special education program. We provide in some cases for math only the opportunity to collab with an English acquisition teacher, an ELD teacher, and a math teacher.
Okay.
So we fund some sections right there where it's 2 teachers, one for language acquisition, the other just for the math content.
Well, and in the back, you're getting some head nods back there. So now I can trust what you're saying.
You've been validated.
No, it was the collab that threw me off, because
Okay.
LCAP funds aren't for special ed. That's why I was like, why is that
Why
there?
is it there? Okay.
That was the only
I
reason.
just took it off the spreadsheet.
Okay.
No, there's
No,
two
it
different
is.
types.
That particular
There's
collab program, yes.
Oh, if it was the other one, there'd be a lot more numbers listed under there. It wouldn't be a budget presentation if I didn't tell you about the ending fund balance. This is what it looks like with our minor updates that we changed since second interim. So here's your 3-year outlook. It essentially just reflects the changes that we talked about. We talked about a $3 million change for the current year, and that is what 25-26 changed by. It was about 36 million at second interim, so that is $3 million. The second year is about a $6 million change, and the third year is about a $9 million change. So that math is exactly what it should be doing based on what happened. And so there it is in all its glory.
Maybe this. How is this impacted by?
I mean, our funding is based on enrollment. So, I mean, if
goes
it drops worse than what I've predicted, then yes.
These at our assumptions.
Yes. Everything is based on the assumption.
Mhm.
Yes. Correct. This was just from second interim is all I was talking about, the change from second interim. Mhm.
Excuse me.
Sorry, go
Bob?
Bill. Yeah, go Carol.
Yeah, can you go ahead and use your microphone, please? I couldn't hear a thing.
Basically, I just said, I'm a little lost on where we lose 12 million a year, like where that is. It can't all be in payroll. Maybe it is. And maybe you don't have it right off the top of your head, but I think I really want to drill into where we get these $12 million drops, considering this year we had $3 million drop. I mean, unless we're losing 25% of our student headcount in the next 3 years, which, that's your big concern.
I mean, the $3 million increase is just since second interim.
I get that.
But that is just in the last 6 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, if your question is on the unrestricted side, I mean, right now we're projecting salary and benefits $88 million out of 104.
Got it. All right. I mean, ultimately, and Carol, I know you're on the page with this as well, is that we just are really going to have to keep a close eye if we're really going to be losing 12 million. I don't know that we're necessarily going to be dropping 12 million. I feel like I don't have the data yet. I know you're doing your own data works. Does this kind of pair with what you're doing independently?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need a deeper dive at another meeting. Sorry, we have to have another meeting. But I mean, if this is really going to happen, we really need to take action.
Well, this is the story we see every single time the NYP is here, right? And that's the whole purpose of the NYP, right? Is to say if the assumptions are right as of now and we don't do anything, right, then that's the effect that will happen, right? And that's why we look at it 3 years ahead of time, is so that we can make adjustments in time. So that's why we never get to that line, because the team here makes changes over the next 3 years to make sure it doesn't do that.
And then we'll wrap with essentially why I think the board asked for this update. Not the cheeriest slide I've made, but so essentially what we've built into the budget is what the board approved in March. There are currently about $5 million of employee reductions. There's another $1 million of non-employee reductions built into the budget. If the classified non-management layoffs were reversed, that $12 million deficit that you noticed, board member Weller, would increase to about 14 million in each of those out years, 26, 27, and 27, 28. And we would need to increase our transfers in to about 3 million in that third year to meet that board 5% reserve.
Define transfers in.
There's a line usually around D of that summary page where we transfer in from outside funds. We usually transfer in for things like technology. We support some things at Del Lago, but we would need to transfer in some additional funds just to meet the 5% reserve
Where are they transferred in? I'm sorry.
into Fund 1.
So they're in our bank accounts,
Yes.
but it's where we move them.
Yes, we would take like so we have it's Fund 40. It's a capital fund where we buy like the iPads for Del Lago. We do our technology replacement from there. So we have different funds where we can purchase things from.
I know the superintendent and I talked about this because I was like, I would love to see a point in time picture snapshot of all our bank accounts. Like,
We do it every 3 months and it will be on the next week's board agenda.
okay, but is it under?
Quarterly disclosures.
But we're not actually, but you're going to present them. It's not just going to be under, so it is on consent. I'd love to not have that one on consent. I'd love for the public to kind of see a little bit more detail.
Well, it's a 100-page PDF document.
No, we probably have 20 bank accounts. That's what I'm saying.
It's a shorter document. It just shows cash on hand. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not an accounting structure.
It's like a balance sheet. It's a point in time.
But it is included in the SACS document.
But I'd love to see that broken out from consent. If I have to vote on that, I will, to pull it. But it'd be great if we could just, and set a time limit on it, 15 minutes, and then we can like look at it, and if we have to bring up more detail later. But with this much of a fund decrease, if I don't understand it, I know the public doesn't understand it, and it's the public's money from taxes. And so if we're losing our district $12 million a year, we're not losing our district 12 million, but I'm saying if the money they're giving us is dropping in reserve balances by 12 million a year, I'm sure the public is going to want to see what is in our account, just to see, and yes, I get it. It's sort of like a business. A business sells $10 billion a month, they might have $10 billion in inflows and $9 billion in exflows, but I want to see what a point in time looks like with our bank statements, and I want to present it to the public, because the public doesn't look at consent items. I guarantee it. Mike might. Not even Mike. That's not that was not a leading question.
Action to make sure they don't.
But anyway, I said enough that I'd love to see it broken out in a presentation.
And so on this last slide, you point out that the $6 million in cuts are necessary. That's for this year. Do you have any idea of what's going to be necessary for for next year to close that other cliff.
At this point, at this point, we just want to make sure these pass and are incorporated in the
Sure.
multi-year. I think, once we know, what the governor is really doing, in the May revise, we'd probably have a better idea, going forward. If he funds a higher COLA, we're still negotiating with our other bargaining group. So there's a lot of things in place still for 25, 26, so 26, 27, 27, 28, would be a little hard to.
But to prevent that drop of the 12 million that Bob keeps referencing, something's going to have to be done.
We would at least need to keep what's incorporated already in the budget.
Okay.
I've got a quick question on the staff reductions. Does these figures also include the SRP?
They include the expense of the retirement incentive, yes. The schools are still working on master schedules, and on the classified side, the retirement incentive is more about creating, I think, vacancies and opportunities. There are some retirements that allowed vacancies for the layoffs. So there are some savings built in with the layoffs, but I wouldn't say necessarily that savings are quite accounted for yet, but definitely the expenses are accounted for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Thank you for this presentation. And if there's nothing else from the board at this time, that was the last item on tonight's agenda. So we will adjourn at 7:39 p.m. Thank you.
Our shortest.
Good night.
All right.
All right.
It's a workshop, not a meeting.